Lost. Are we live? Asmodeus X3. Okay, we are live here. So we are live. Everything looks good. Now I just have to check the desktop audio if that matches my audio. It should not suppress my audio. Under the weather. Let's see. Let's try to play something. Maybe play. Okay. So let's start. Build a travel agency page. So first of all, we are going to build this travel agency page. Let's start it. Travel agency page. Okay. Everything looks good. Let's start. Build an app that functionally similar to the example project. Try not to copy the example project. Give it your own personal style. Okay. Fulfill the user stories below and get the test passed to a complete level. Okay. User stories, you should have a doc type declaration, HTML, lang. Okay. You should have a head. Okay. Character set. Okay. And in the title travel agency page, you should have a meta head. Okay. H1, H2, H3. You should have an H2 with text packages and introducing briefly various packages. You should have another list of elements with two list items. Two list items should have group travels and private tours. Okay, respectively. The text of each list item should be enclosed by an anchor tag. You should have an H2 top. Okay. Itineraries, you should have at least 3 figure elements containing figure caption element. The 3 anchor elements should have an image element with appropriate alt attribute and source attribute set to a valid image content you can use. All your 5 anchor elements should have a href attribute. Well, let's try to make it. Okay. Let's declare the doc type HTML head inside head there should be a title, close. After that we should have a body. Let's close the body. After that we should have an closing HTML. We close the HTML. Everything looks fine. Now we closed it. So here HTML opens, here it closes. We have a body, we have head, titles, everything. Inside the title it says that first of all we have to include lang attribute equals en, and here we also have to introduce meta inside meta, you have two meta elements within your head element. One meta is name, uh, attribute of your description. Okay, meta name. And the second one is char set, character set, and that is, oh, that is UTF-8, UTF-8, not 9. Okay, let's close it. So here our description will go. So to add description, we have to use, do we have to use OZ here? I don't think so. It just says that you should have two meta elements within your head element, name and that. Okay, so list here v this is a travel agency page. So here we make travel easy and comfortable. Comfortable, COMFOR, FORTIPAL, comfort, TAB, comfortable. Is that correct? I think so. We'll make travel easy and comfortable for our clients. That's good. Okay. Now inside our title, travel agency page. Travel agency page. You should have a meta tag in your head that contains a short description about a website for SEO. So this, I think, is for SEO, and it should work. I think there are some mistakes, I think, here, but that doesn't matter. Syntax error maybe. Okay, next, you should have an H1 element to present your table description. So, okay, H1 element inside the body, H1, close H1. Travel opportunities, okay. Okay, so okay. So travel destinations, okay. So I just like travel destinations. Now inside travel destination, I just add a paragraph. Inside our paragraph, let's just copy this and paste it inside our paragraph, so we don't have to add. Okay, so we have H2 below the with the text package. Okay, so below the paragraph we have an H2 slash H2, and inside our H2 there goes, what is it, decrease the Okay, so inside of h2 element we should just write packages. You should have a paragraph, various packages. Okay, just add a paragraph. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so I'm not in the mood to use my brain at its full potential. So I'm just gonna add this paragraph here. I'm just gonna copy and paste it. You should have an unordered list element with two list items. Two list items should have this and this. Okay, so I have an unordered list, so ul, and just close it, ul. Okay, inside the ul there should be two list items, so li, close li, and let's see if I do this. Let's copy this, and if I paste it here, it does not do anything. Okay, so if I do li, and it says that you should have with two list items should have the two list items should have group events and private too, so the text of each list item should be enclosed by an anchor tag. Okay, so basically it says that what we have to do is just copy this group travels, just paste it here, copy private tours, paste it here, and we have to enclose it inside an anchor tag, so like this. And here the anchor tag ends. I'm just gonna copy this, paste it here. I'm just gonna copy the text again, paste it here. That is it. Okay. You should have an h2 element with the text top itineraries. What is itineraries? Don't know this word. Let's search it. A planned route or journey. Okay. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to add an h2 which is here already. So I'm just gonna copy it, and inside after our ul tag I'm just gonna paste it, and I'm just gonna copy this, and I'm just gonna paste top itineraries here. Maybe I should remove the full stop. You should have at least 3 figure elements, each containing an anchor element and a figure caption element. Okay, so figure and figure close, figure close. It's gonna copy it 3 times, so just gonna do this, enter this. So we have done it. What we can do, we can also do it in our VS Code. That would be easy, and then we can just paste it, but I don't know if that it supports that. So now what you have to do is we have to add anchor. So I'm just going to copy this anchor, copy, paste here, paste here, paste here, and we have an anchor element and we have a fig caption element also. So I'm just gonna do fig caption element and close this fig caption. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this fig caption. I'm just going to paste it here. Paste, paste. Okay, it looks like a bit messy, so I'm just gonna okay, now it looks good, I think. Yeah, okay. uh, okay, now it looks a bit better. We have to remove the group travels here, but for now let's see what else we have to do. The three anchor elements should have an image element uh, with appropriate alt attribute and shows attributes set to the valid image. You can choose this, and this. So it says that these anchor elements should have an image. So anchor element, let's go for img src. So I think if I have to open an img like this, img src, does it work like this? If I do this, if I copy this and paste it here, no, it doesn't work. You cannot open an anchor tag like this. Uh, uh, Not working. Maybe I should. Oh, I know not what shenanigans I have done. I just have to remove this, I think. Just cut this, paste it inside the anchor tag, add a tag here, and now it's good. So inside our anchor tag there is a source, okay, of the image, and we also have to use an alt for this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna close it like this. After alt I'm gonna use what is this picture? This is Colosseum, I think. So Colosium, Colosseum. And inside our fig caption, what say it says? Okay, so it says that we can use anything in the fig caption. Let's say I'm gonna use this word in the fig caption. Paste. Colosseum. Okay. Now I'm just gonna copy this. Copy. I'm just gonna paste it here. So paste. So we have double Colosseum. Now I just have to replace the link here. I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to replace the link here. Paste. We got this mountains, beautiful mountains. I'm going to change the name to mountains. Okay. And also change the fig caption to mountains. What the fuck? Okay. So yeah, the mountains here. Now we have to add the last link. It is also easy. I'm just gonna have to copy this to fix caption. I'm just gonna paste it here. Okay. Oh, sorry, what the fuck happened? Okay, I'm just gonna have to copy this, paste it here, and I'm just gonna copy the link and I'm just gonna paste it here. So we have the C. Let's go for the C. C. So Colosseum, mountains, and sea. That's it. Now all your 5 anchor elements should have an href attribute. So this is our anchor tag, so we have to add href. So we can just do like href, and we can just use this copy, paste, and we can just also add a target, so that if someone clicks on this picture will redirect them to another window or another tab, and in that tab the new page will open. So I just have to use this word underscore blank. So I'm just going to use blank, remove the full stop, and we are good to go. Oh my god. Okay. Now we have to do is, what we have to do is, I'm just gonna have to add this target, this href and target to our anchor tags. I'm just gonna copy, and here space, paste, and here also there is the anchor tag. But there is no anchor tag. Okay, I have to make an anchor tag then. Okay, then space, paste, okay, I have to use this maybe. Okay. Okay, I guess. And here also. Image tag, we closed image. And if we click here, it is working. If we click here, it is working. If we click here, it is working. But it says that all 5 anchor tags. Where are the 5 anchor tags? So where is anchor tag? Here is an anchor tag. 2 of them are here. Okay, so we just have to add this. Just copy this and add it like here and here also. Okay, let's run the test. Okay, there are many errors. You should have an HTML element lang set to EL. So didn't I do that? I did that. You should have a head HTML element. I have a head. Okay, do I? There is something wrong here. Oh, I think I didn't start an HTML tag. This lang attribute will be here, not in the head section. Okay, let's run again. Let's wait a minute. Okay, I did wrap it inside our HTML. Okay, just retest. You should have two meta elements within your head element. So two meta elements. So okay, so we have to actually make it two meta elements, not one. We can also do it like this maybe, but I think we have to do it like this. So meta, not mata, meta. Okay, one meta element name. Okay, the second meta element should character cell UTF-8. Okay, and everything is fine. Just run the test. And one meta element should have name attribute, value of description. Meta name. Oh, okay. So okay. Okay, so this name here is have to be content, CONTENT, and another name here should be given like description. Now it should work. Yeah. Okay, so now we have done it. Took me 26 minutes to do it, but it's okay. Everything looks good, everything looks fine. Okay, let's hop on to the lectures for now on. Okay, submit and next challenge. Now we have to attend some video lectures. What are replaced element and what are some of the examples? Let's start with this. Let's start with the replaced element.
What are replaced elements and what are some examples? A replaced element is an element whose content is determined by an external resource rather than by CSS itself. CSS, or cascading style sheets, is used to add styles to a web page. Common examples of replaced elements include the image, iframe, and video elements. With replaced elements, you can control the position or layout of an element, but your CSS cannot directly modify the content of that element. This might be easier to explain with some examples. Consider the image element, which embeds an image on your web page. The element itself is replaced with the external object, the image. Your CSS can control things like the positioning of the image or apply a filter to it, but you cannot actually modify the image itself. A more robust example might be the iframe element, which embeds an external site on your web page. Common examples for using the iframe element would be to embed maps or YouTube videos onto the page. The element itself is replaced with the external object, the site. Your CSS can change the positioning of the embedded site, but you cannot modify the site's contents. To dive a bit further, if the embedded site has an H1 element, your CSS would not be able to style that H1 element. You cannot change the size, font color, and so on. There are some other replaced elements, such as video and embed. And some elements behave as replaced elements under specific circumstances. Here's an example of an input element with the type attribute set to image. This type of input is considered to be a replaced element, but other input types like text or email are not replaced elements.
What can use style in replaced element, the font size, the layout, everything basically, because we can replace that element. What is a replaced element replaced with? an external object. Which of these is a replaced element? iframe is a replaced element. Check. Something is wrong here. Okay, you can change whether the element is located in your page. Font, the layout, positioning, and the color specific text. I think in the layout positioning we can only change. Yeah, let's go.
What are common ways to optimize media assets? There are 3 tools to consider when using media, such as images, on your web pages: the size, the format, and the compression. Let's talk about the size of your images first. When you are building a website, you'll often style images to display in a specific size. For example, you might have an image display at a 640 by 480 resolution. 640 represents the width, while 480 represents the height in pixels. When preparing your image, you want to scale it to a 640 by 480 size to match that styling. If you serve an image that is 1920 by 1080 but are styling it to be much smaller, you're requiring your users to download unnecessary data. A smaller resolution results in a smaller file size. The next thing to consider is your file format. 2 of the most common file formats are PNG and JPEG, but these are no longer the most ideal formats for serving images. Unless you need support for older browsers, you should consider using a more optimized format like WebP or AVIF.
Yeah,
Finally, you can run compression algorithms on your images. A compression algorithm is used to reduce the size for files or data. There are options like PNG Crush to compress your images locally, or you can use online compression tools. However, it's worth noting that specific file formats, such as JPEG, are not lossless. Lossless means that the original data can be perfectly reconstructed from the compressed data. If you try to compress a JPEG image, it will result in a degraded quality.
Okay.
You should keep all these things in mind when selecting images for your web pages.
Okay, that's really insightful. How should you scale or size your image? Your image should be smaller than, no, your image should be larger than, your image should be the same scale as the render size scale. It doesn't matter whatever is good. Okay, so our image should be larger, maybe same. I'm confused. Which of the following is not a valid image type? TS, of course, TypeScript is a programming language, not an image format. Which file format should you never compress? Of course, we should never compress the JPG because it will blur the image. Everything is correct. Let's hop on to the next session.
What are different types of image licenses and how do they work? Images are considered intellectual property. This means that they are protected by copyright regulations, most often belonging to the creator. By default, images are released as all rights reserved. The creator, or publisher sometimes, holds all copyright for the image. This means that you cannot use them in your web page unless you do one of 3 things: obtain written permission from the copyright holder, purchase a license from the copyright holder, or incorporate the image in a way that falls under fair use. That third point is a bit tricky. Fair use requires that your use of the image is both limited and transformative. Some examples of fair use would be to comment on or review the art, or create a parody of the image. Some images might be released under a permissive license, like a Creative Commons license, or the BSD license that FreeCodeCamp uses. These images are available for use in your website, but you'll need to read the license to understand the rules you need to follow when using these images. For example, you might be required to make your website open source, or you may not be permitted to modify the image in any way. Finally, some images may be released to the public domain. An image under the public domain has most often belonging to the creator. By default, images are released as all rights reserved. The creator, or publisher sometimes, holds all copyright for the image. This means that you cannot use them in your web page unless you do one of three things: obtain written permission from the copyright holder,
Okay.
purchase a license from the copyright holder,
Okay.
or incorporate the image in a way that falls under fair use.
Okay.
That third point is a bit tricky. Fair use requires that your use of the image is both limited and transformative.
Yeah.
Some examples of fair use would be to comment on or review the art, or create a parody of the image.
Okay.
Some images might be released under a permissive license, like a Creative Commons license, or the BSD license that FreeCodeCamp uses. These images are available for use in your website, but you'll need to read the license to understand the rules you need to follow when using these images.
Well, that's
For
pretty
example, you might be required to make your website open source, or you may not be permitted to modify the image in any
These
way.
are the rules for the
Finally,
creative.
some images may be released to the public domain. An image under the public domain has no copyright attached to it
Okay.
and is free to be used without any restrictions.
That's easy.
Images licensed specifically under the Creative Commons 0 license are considered public domain. Most search engines will allow you to filter image results by license. There are also sites like Pixabay and Unsplash, which offer free-to-use images. Always be mindful of the copyright and licensing when you use an image in your website.
That's very good. What is the default license for the image? Default. I think that's public. Yeah, because yeah, that's public. Which license releases works to public domain? Public domain. MIT, BSD, Creative Commons 0. This. Creative Commons 0. How can you find images that are allowed to use? Search, website, use the image, social media, use the image in any. You can use image as long as it's not watermarked. You can use any image from social media as long as you give credit. Use website like we have to use websites like Pixabay and Unsplash to see if the image is copyrighted or not. Let's check the answers. One is wrong. What is the default license for the image? All rights reserved. Okay, maybe yes. Okay, I can't focus on the video. It's just 1 minute video and I can't focus on it.
So what are SVGs and when should you use them? First, you need to understand how images work. Common image formats like PNG and JPEG are classified as raster formats. This essentially means that they are pixel-based, with the data tracking the color value in each pixel. A large downside of raster-based images is that they do not upscale well. If you have ever tried to make a PNG larger, you may have seen that it becomes pixelated or blurry. An SVG is a different kind of image. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. A vector graphic tracks data based on paths and equations to plot points, lines, and curves. What this really means is that a vector graphic, like an SVG, can be scaled to any size without impacting the quality. SVGs specifically have the added benefit of storing data in XML. This means you can use them directly in your code as raw HTML with the SVG element. It also means you can programmatically change the color of the image. So when would you want to use an SVG? A great use case is for icons. If you want to create custom bullet points or add icons to your links to represent social media platforms, using SVGs is the best approach. One of the most popular icon libraries, Font Awesome, uses SVG images for their icons.
Inside one of my projects.
SVGs are also great for web page logos. Because they scale perfectly, they allow you to adapt your layout to any responsive design you need. Next time you have an SVG locally, try opening it with a text editor and playing with the code.
Okay, that's really good. What is a raster image? An image we can store color pixel image. How in raster easily scalable basically. This image is easily scalable vector image. Uh, I have to vote it again. Here is the vector image.
With the data tracking the color value in each pixel. A large downside of raster-based images is that they do not upscale well. If
Oh,
you've
okay.
ever tried to make a PNG larger, you may have seen that it becomes
So this is the
pixelated
characters.
or blurry. An SVG is a different kind of image.
Acha.
SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphic. A vector graphic tracks data based on paths and equations to plot points, lines, and curves. What this really means is that a vector graphic, like an SVG, can be scaled to any size without impacting the quality.
Okay.
SVGs specifically have the added benefit of storing data in XML. This means you can use them directly in your code as raw HTML with the SVG element. It also means you can programmatically change the color of the image. So when would you want to use an SVG? A great use case is for icons. If you want to create custom bullet points or add icons to your links to represent social media platforms, using SVGs is the best approach. One of the most popular icon libraries, Font Awesome, uses SVG images for their icons.
So what is vector
SVGs
image?
are also great for web page
It stores
logos.
the path,
Because
lines,
they
and curves.
scale perfectly, they allow you
How does
to
it store
adapt your
data?
layout to any responsive
XML?
design you need. Next time you have an
Yes.
SVG locally, try opening it with a text editor and what's the role of the HTML audio and video element, and how do they work? The audio and video elements allow you to add sound and video content to your HTML documents. The audio element supports popular audio formats like MP3, WAV, and OGG. The video format supports MP4, OGG, and WebM formats. To include audio content on your web page, you can use the audio element with the SRC attribute pointing to the location of your audio file. If you try to run this example, you'll see that nothing shows up on the page. However, if you inspect the page with the developer tools, you'll see the audio element is indeed on the page. If you want to see the audio player on the page, then you can add the audio element with the controls attribute. The controls attribute enables users to manage audio playback, including adjusting volume and pausing or resuming playback. The controls attribute is a Boolean attribute that can be added to an element to enable built-in playback controls. If omitted, no controls will be shown. This is what the example looks like rendered on the web page. Apart from the source and control attributes, there are several other attributes that enhance the functionality of the audio element. The loop attribute is a Boolean attribute that makes the audio replay continuously. Here's an example of using the loop attribute to play one of Quincy Larson's songs titled Can't Stay Down. When the song reaches the end, it will loop back around and play it again from the beginning.
Okay, I think this will give me
Another attribute you can use is the muted attribute. When present in the audio element, this Boolean attribute will start the audio in a muted state. Here's an example of using the muted attribute. When you start the song in the browser, you'll not hear anything. To hear the music, you would need to click on the volume icon like this. When it comes to audio file types, there are differences in which browsers support which type. To accommodate this, you can use source elements inside the audio element, and the browser will select the first source that it understands. Here's an example of using multiple source elements for an audio element. The browser will first start with the OGG type, and if it can't play the audio, then it will move down to the next type in the list. All the attributes we have learned so far are also supported in the video element. Here's an example of using video element with the loop, controls, and muted attributes. For the SRC or source attribute, we are using a video called Big Buck Bunny from archive.org. If you wanted to display an image while the video is downloading, you can use the poster attribute. This attribute is not available for audio elements and is unique to the video element. Here's an example of using the poster attribute with content provided by peach.blender.org. This example is also using the width attribute to set the width to 620 pixels so the video fits better on the screen. Here's what the example looks like rendered on the page.
Okay, that's really nice. Pretty good. Okay, what attribute allows the audio to start in a muted state? Muted, maybe? Not mute. Yeah, muted. Which attribute lets you to see and pause buttons? A role attribute. What is the purpose of poster? To set a video source to control node to display image while video is downloading. This is the correct option. Check the answer. Everything is correct. Let's go to the next. Become a supporter, of course. That's really bad.
How do you embed videos onto your page using the iframe element? First, what exactly is the iframe element? Iframe stands for inline frame. It's an inline element used to embed other HTML content directly within the HTML page. That HTML content could be a video, map, another HTML element, or even other web pages. Here's what the syntax of the iframe element looks like. The src attribute specifies the URL of the page you want to embed. The width attribute specifies the width of the iframe. The height attribute specifies the height of the iframe. The allow full screen attribute allows the user to display the iframe in full screen mode. It's also good practice to specify a title attribute for the iframe, as it's important for accessibility. To embed a video within an iframe, you can copy it directly from popular video services like YouTube and Vimeo, or define it yourself with the src attribute, pointing to the URL of the video. Here's an example of embedding a popular free code camp course from YouTube. And here's the result in the browser. You can then customize the iframe to your needs, or even define your own by copying the link to the YouTube video and pasting it in as the URL value. The caveat is that you must replace https://youtube.be with https://youtube.com/embed. youtube.be is the domain when you copy the share link, and the youtube.com/embed is the domain required for embedding videos with the iframe element. Here's an example of that. Note that the video can come from anywhere. It doesn't have to come from video services like YouTube and Vimeo. Here's a video from Pixabay embedded with the iframe element. It renders perfectly. Don't forget, you can also embed a map, another web page, or direct HTML within the iframe element. Here's a map I was able to embed with the iframe element. If you want to embed direct HTML within the iframe element, you have to use the src doc attribute instead of src.
Okay. That's really good.
Then the iframe element.
What we have to do is like open street map, export, embed. Yeah, this thing. If you use embed, then it embeds this link to our web page. So
here's a map I was able to embed with the iframe element.
That's really good.
If you want to embed direct HTML within the iframe element, you have to use the src doc attribute instead of src.
src doc
src doc attribute iframe element, you have to use the src.
If you are to embed the map, then we have to use src doc. Okay, if I want to add a video, then we have to use the src. Okay.
Map I was able to embed with the iframe element. If you want to embed direct HTML within the iframe element, you have to use the src doc attribute instead of src.
Okay. If you want to embed HTML, then we have to use it. So what does iframe means? International inline frame, of course. Which attribute of iframe specifies location of what you want to embed? The src. Which attribute of the iframe element do you use instead of src direct html, then that's be src doc. We are nearly there. Okay, are we done? Okay, we are not done with this one.
So what are SVGs and when should you use them? First, you need to understand how images work. You to adapt your layout to any responsive design you need. Next time you have an SVG locally, try opening it with a text editor and playing with the code.
Okay, so what is a raster image? An image, raster image, basically that image which stores the image colors and each pixel. This is the raster image. Color of data color of each pixel. What is vector image? Vector image basically which stores paths, lines and curves. The vector image. XCV stores data in XML, and if we check it, it should be 100% completed. Let's go submit. Okay, let me go back to the main curriculum. Okay. Certified full stack developer. Build a video compilation page. Let's start it then. Okay, now we are on our project. So here we are making video compilation page. Fulfill the user's stories below all the test pass. Okay, you should have a main element as the only child of the body element. So we have a main element. We have a main element. This is the only child of the body element. You should have an h1 element which the topic page with the topic of your page. Okay, h1. So this h1 will be inside the main element or outside? Maybe it's outside then. Let's try doing inside. If it works, then it works. If it does not, then we'll make some changes here. You should have a paragraph introducing your topic below your h1. So we have a paragraph. Paragraph close. You should have 3 section elements below your first paragraph. First paragraph, 3 section elements. Okay, so this section and this section close. You should have 3 of these. So I'm just gonna use copy, paste, paste. We have 3 section elements. Each section should contain h2 element, a paragraph and a iframe element in this order. So each section should have 3 elements. So I'm just gonna use h2 like this, maybe close paragraph element, and an iframe. Iframe. Okay. Closed it. I'm just gonna copy it copy, paste, paste. Now what should I do is I just have to do this, section close, section, and section close here. Looks good. H1, H1, H1. Okay. Each section should contain H2 element, paragraph hyphen in order. The 3 frame element should have a source attribute set to a valid video. Okay, so I have to use source attribute. So I can use this here, src, and I'm just gonna use YouTube for my stuff. Maybe just open YouTube. You will always be sad. Just share this, copy this. I'm just gonna use this as my source, and .pe, this should be replaced here with .embed slash and this should work maybe. Okay, is that this is .embed? No, there is some syntax error going on here. I'm just gonna use embed like this. Nah. Okay, let's leave it here. I'm just gonna copy this source. Okay, I also have to, okay, 3 frames element src attribute a valid video, and each frame should have a title and attribute to describe the embedded content. So okay, so embedded content here. Maybe double D here. Oh yeah, this is not working. Okay, let's just do this then. Just use width is equals to, like, let's say 500, 400. Yeah, 400 will be good maybe, and height will be equal to like 400. So it should be a square, maybe a little bigger one. So we did that. iframe has this, and iframe should have a title also. So I'm just going to add a title here. Title equals to let's say my vid if I okay. Now what I have to do is I'm just going to copy this to iframe, and I'm just going to embed in our iframe like this. So I'm just going to paste it here also, and I'm going to paste it here also. Okay, let's test the test. If I run the test, what is happening? Can't run the test. Should I reload this page? Let's reload this. Run the test. So we have HTML and we close the HTML here. Okay. We have a closed main tag here. Our head and paragraph doesn't have anything, but we don't have to add items here. Maybe we have to. Yeah. Okay, it's calling that. Okay. Now what we can do is uh, hint. Let's get a hint. Okay, so let's copy this. Okay, this is the thing we do it. Title equals to this iframe. Huh? Hello. We are back. So this is the code we have to use. So we used lang en. I think we did that. Did we use? Yeah, HTML lang en. Then we have our head, then meta, then title, then h1, and this. Maybe I should just copy this. Yeah, I'll just copy this. Just paste it inside our. So what did he do here? So main section, he actually did everything in the main section, and I also did everything in the main section. The difference is I don't have anything written here. So let's write this, and youtube.com, I think the link is the way I link the video is wrong basically. So what I have to do is first let's change the height and width of the. Okay, let's just copy the iframe tag. Now, yeah, so this video is not available, but that's okay. So this is actually working. Then I should. What I have to do is I just have to remove all this and paste. And also paste here. Now everything looks good. Let's try to run the test. Okay, each section element should have okay. So we don't have this, I guess. I'm just going to copy and what do I have to do? I just have to copy this and paste it here. I'm missing my VS code here, way too much. Just copy, paste, and last but not the least, I have to copy here also. So just paste it here, and I have my header here, and after the header there should be a paragraph. Inside main there is header and a paragraph. So paragraph is already there, I guess. We have two headers. Why do we have two headers here? We shouldn't have two headers. Just remove this header also, and just add a header here, paste. Okay, everything looks good now. Let's run this. Each section should have a paragraph element. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, so this should just remove. Now everything looks fine. Okay, everything is good. Okay, so the main problem was I was not writing anything inside the head and the paragraph sections, so that's why it didn't register as progress of the video, so I just made it. So it was not that bad. So if I want to review it, okay, so I have to make it again. That's bad. So just curriculum. working with links. So here we can check this code and understand what is happening here. So first of all, we added doctype.html, which should be added in every HTML file on the top. So this will tell the browser that the HTML we are using is of the latest version. The second, inside the HTML tag, we are here, this is the core tag of the HTML. Everything which we write in the HTML language should be written inside this tag, and it should be enclosed with /HTML tag. And inside the HTML tag opening, we have lag attribute, which tells the browser that everything that is written inside the browser is indeed written in English language. Then we have the head section. The head section just tells the browser that everything inside the head section will not be displayed on the browser. It just, the title here just displays the this text on the tab. So if we open here, as we can see, build a video compilation, this is written inside this tab has the title build a video compilation page. So this is basically what will happen if we write inside title. So if we open this code on a browser, then this text will be replaced with video compilation page. And then after, and this meta character set will basically tell the encoding of each character. So every character that is displayed inside our web page will have an encoding. It can be hexadecimal encoding, the binary encoding, or octal encoding, any encoding. So this will just tell our browser that everything that we wrote inside our browser should look as same as the data provided by the server to the browser, to the client. So this is basically encoder. It encodes the fonts on the web page. Inside the body tag, we have a main section. So this main section is basically tells that every code inside this main section is actually unique and not be written inside anywhere inside our body element again. So if we write like this code inside our main element from here to here, from here to here, so all this code can't be repeated anywhere else because it's in the main section. So this is a section. So h1 tag just represents the main header of the web page. So the main header will be like this, and the section element basically divides the web page into sections so that we can actually apply CSS more efficiently actually. So, and this paragraph basically tells the web page what to write inside the web page. This is this will come directly below the main header h1. This is really good, but because I'm a little bit under the weather right now, I can't just, I can just use my brain, and I'm just not cut out for this right now. I will use my creativeness in other videos. So now this section element will divide the page in 3 sections because there are 3 section elements. So our page will divide into 3 sections. Every section has its own video embedded into it, and every video has its own header and a paragraph describing the content of the video. The iframe basically embeds the video into the section, and to embed a video we should just replace the src with the link of the video which is available on any video streaming platform like YouTube or any other platforms. So we just have to actually use embed instead of youtube.upu or something like that, because if we copy the link from the YouTube, if we go to the YouTube and we watch any video like Crash Royale video, this is Zugu. Oh, okay, that's fucked up. So let's share this, and we can see that this is youtube.be. This is actually a shareable link, not embedding link. So we just have to remove the dot and make it youtube.com/embed to embed this video inside our project, like that. So that happens. So everything is just repeated here. So this section will do same thing, this section will do same thing, and then we ended our section, then main, then body, then HTML. Okay, let's try to copy this, and let's try to come here, and let's try to paste it. Yeah. So to learn tie sneakers. Okay. So will this video work? No, this is error. But if I like replace the link here, it should work. But we don't have to do that. Okay, this is how our HTML page looks. So this is actually the header. This is the h2. This is h1 tag. The text inside the h1 tag. This is the text inside the h2. And okay, now it's really good. And this is the description of the video, and this whole thing from here to here is a section, as you can see. This is a section, this whole thing is a section again, and this whole thing is a section again. Vance old school. Okay, that was a really good project to understand the working of HTML and how to embed videos in our HTML web page. So now let's hop on to the working with links lecture. What are the different target attributes and types, and how do they work? Let's try to use this. Okay, we're going to start it soon. So what we are going to do is, just wait for a second. Okay, so we are gonna start the video. I'm just gonna drink some elixir right now. We are good to go. What are the different target attributes, types, and how they work? Let's hop on to the video. We are going to end the stream at 1 p.m. Okay, let's go.
What are the different target attribute types and how do they work? You may have seen the target attribute on anchor elements or links. This important attribute tells the browser where to open the URL for the anchor element. There are 4 important possible values for this attribute. Note that each value is preceded by an underscore. The first value is self, which is the default value. This opens the link in the current browsing context. In most cases, this will be the current tab or window. The second value is blank, which opens the link in a new browsing context. Typically, this will open in a new tab, but some users might configure their browsers to open in a new window instead. The third value is parent, which opens a link in the parent of the current context. For example, if your website has an iframe, a parent target in that iframe would open in your website's tab or window, not in the embedded frame. The fourth value is top, which opens
Okay guys, I'm back. I got distracted because a call came. Okay, so yeah.
Opens a link in the topmost browsing context. Think the parent of the parent. This is similar to parent, but the link will always open in the full browser tab window, even for nested embedded frames. There is a fifth value called unfenced top, which is currently used for the experimental fence frame API. At the time of this video, you probably won't have a reason to use this one yet, but by selecting the right target value to control where your users end up is an important consideration when creating a website.
Okay, so there are actually
Which is the default
three.
value.
Let me see
Score.
here.
The
The self target attribute, the blank, the parent, and the top. The self will actually open the link inside the current web page.
first value is self, which is the default value.
And you see
This
this
opens
is
the
also
link in
default
the
value.
current browsing context.
Yeah.
In most cases, this will be the current tab or window.
Okay.
The second value is blank, which opens the link in a new browsing context. Typically, this will open in a new tab, but some users might configure their browsers to open in a new window instead. The third value is parent, which opens a link in the parent of the current context. For example, if your website has an iframe, a parent target in that iframe would open in your website's tab or window, not in the embedded frame. The fourth value is top, which opens a window, not would open a parent target in that iframe would open in your website's tab or window, not in the embedded frame. The fourth value is top, which opens a link in the topmost browsing context. Think the parent of the parent. This is similar to parent, but the link will always open in the full browser tab window, even for nested embedded frames.
Okay.
There is a fifth value
So
the third value in a new tab, but some users might configure their browsers to open in a new window instead. The third value is parent, which opens a link in the parent of the
parent opens the link in the parent of the current context. Parent.
current context. For example, if your website has an iframe, a parent target in that iframe would open in your website's tab or window, not in the embedded frame. The fourth value is top, which opens a link in the topmost browsing context. Think the parent of the parent. This is similar to parent, but the link will always open in the full browser tab window, even for nested embedded frames. There is a fifth value called unfenced top, which is currently used for the experimental fence frame API. At the time of this video, you probably won't have a reason to use this one yet, but by selecting the right target value to control where your users end up is an important consideration when creating a website.
Okay, that's really good. So how many current target values are to choose from? There are, I think, 4 of them. Where this will a link blank open to a new window or tab? Same, I think here. What is the default behavior when you do not set a target? It opens in parent context, same window or tab. It opens in the same window or tab. Check. Submit. Next.
What is the difference between absolute and relative paths?
Okay.
A path is a string that specifies the location of a file or directory in a file system. In web development, paths let developers link to resources like images, style sheets, scripts, and other web pages. There are absolute and relative paths. Both are essential when specifying file locations within a file system. Let's look at the two so you can decide which one of them to use and when. An absolute path is a complete link to a resource. It starts from the root directory, includes every other directory, and finally the file name and extension. The root directory refers to the top-level directory or folder in a hierarchy. An absolute path also includes the protocol, which could be HTTP, HTTPS, and file, and the domain name if the resource is on the web. Here is an example of an absolute path that links to the FreeCodeCamp logo. In this example, the protocol is HTTPS. The domain name is designstyleguide.freecodecamp.org and the file name is fcc_secondary_small.svg. Now, what if the resource you want to link to using an absolute path is on your local machine? Imagine I have the following folder structure on my machine. Here's how to link to the about.html file with an absolute path. It looks like this because we are going into a folder on my computer called users, then into a folder called user, then into a folder called desktop, then into a folder called FCC, then into a folder called script code, and then we are in this project, which in itself is a folder called absolute versus relative paths, then into the folder called pages to finally get the about.html file. Phew! Here's what the absolute URL looks like in a browser address bar. The URL includes the protocol, so file : //. It also includes the path, which looks like this and represents the series of folders that lead to the file. And finally, it also includes the about.html, which is the file name and the extension. Now let's look at the relative path. A relative path specifies the location of a file relative to the directory of the current file. It does not include the protocol.
Okay, guys, we are back. We are extremely back. Okay. Okay, so we learned about the absolute path and the relative path here.
Or the domain name, making it shorter and more flexible for internal links within the same website. Let's go back to the same file structure. Here is an example of linking to the about.html page from the contact HTML page. So imagine you're on the contact HTML page, and because the about.html page is in the same place, we simply get the file name. This is an example of using a relative file path.
Okay.
So, which should you use and when? An absolute path or a relative path? Here are the rules you should follow. Use absolute paths when linking to a resource hosted on an external website. Use absolute paths when you need to link to a page or resource to work consistently, regardless of the document location within the site. And use relative paths when linking to resources within the same website. Also use relative paths if you want to keep your code cleaner and easier to maintain during development. And finally, also use relative paths during local testing to ensure links work without an internet connection.
Okay. So we can use relative paths when we are working with the same website and we have to actually link pages of the same website inside a page. So what are the two types of paths? Of course, there are relative, absolute and relative paths. How do you link a source available only on the internet? Only on the internet. How do you link a source? Okay, maybe I should be use absolute path because it's on the internet. Which protocol is used for absolute path on a local machine? Of course, file. That's correct. Let's hop on to another one.
You may have seen links like this before, but what do these special types of links mean? These are called file paths. There are three key syntaxes to know. First is the slash, which can be a backslash or a forward slash depending on your operating system. The second is a single dot. And finally, we have the double dot. The slash is known as the path separator. It is used to indicate a break in the text between folder or file names. This is how your computer knows that Naomi's files points to a directory of the same name, while Naomi's /files points to a file in the Naomi's directory. A single dot points to the current directory and two dots point to the parent directory. You will typically see a single dot used to ensure that the path is recognized as a relative path. Remember that you learned in a previous lecture about relative versus absolute paths before. Double dots, however, are much more common to access files outside of the current working directory. For example, given this file tree. If your public /index.html file needed to load the favicon.ico file, you would use a relative path with a single dot to access the current directory. If your public /index.html file needed to load the /index.html path with a single dot to
have to actually, because it's inside the same folder though. So you need to load favicon.ico file. You use a relative path with a single dot to access the current directory .favicon.favicon.io. Okay.
To access the current directory. If your
public index.html file need to load index.css file, you use a relative path with double dots to navigate to parent my app directory first, then to the source directory, and finally to your site. So index.css is here and we are going to use
public /index.html file needed to load the index.css file, you would use a relative path with double dots to navigate to the parent my app directory first, then to the source directory, and finally to your file. The index.css file, you would use a relative path with double dots to navigate to the parent.
So the first dot is for current directory. So this is current directory. Okay. And the second dot is for the parent directory, which is my app. So we can access this file from this directory.
Parent my app directory first.
Then we are at this, then we have added source. So it will go under the source, then access that. And if we go here, like here, so if you want to add this, we can just do favicon.ico, first go to the current directory, so / current directory, this, and inside this directory we have favicon.ico. Okay.
My app directory first, then to the source directory, and finally to your file.
Okay, which of this is a absolute path? This is relative, this is relative. This is an absolute path. Which which option is a relative path to current directory? Relative path to current directory. This is current directory. Which option is relative path to the parent directory? Double dots wala. This. Check the answer. Of course, this was wrong. This is gonna be this side. Let's go. Okay. So we have link states. Now this is very important topic.
What are the different
we
link
have to-
states and why are they important? You may have seen a link on a web page become purple after you click it. This is because the state of the link has changed, so different styling gets applied. There are 5 different states a link can be in. The first is the default state, which is link. This link represents a link which the user has not visited, clicked, or interacted with yet. You can think of this state as providing the base styles for all links on your page. The other states build on top of it. The second state is visited, which applies when a user has already visited the page being linked to. By default, this turns the link purple, but you can leverage CSS to provide a different visual indicator to the user. This is helpful to let someone know they have already read a portion of your documentation, or that the site is one they can trust because they have used it before. The third state is hover. This state applies when a user is hovering their cursor over a link. This state is helpful, providing extra attention to a link to ensure a user actually intends to click it. Then we have focus. This state applies for when we focus on a link. And finally, we have active. This state applies to links that are being activated by the user. This typically means clicking on the link with the primary mouse button by left-clicking in most cases. This state can be helpful for showing a user that the element they clicked on is interactive. When you use these states to style your links, there are specific orders you need to write your CSS in. So for example, you could do link visited, hover, then acted, or LVHA. You should now know how to give links in your page your own personal flair, while still providing the important information a user needs about the state of each link.
LVHFA. So link is the default state. This is the visited state. If we already click on the link, that turns the link in some other color. This is hovering. If we hover over the link, it will change the appearance. So we can say this link is interactive. Focus. What is focus?
And finally, we have act applies for when we focus on a link. And finally, we have focus. This state applies for when we focus on a link. And finally, we have active.
This basically it covers the link in a border so that it looks, yeah, so you are actually in this meantime you are interacting with a link.
This applies to links that are being activated by the user. This typically means clicking on the link with the primary mouse button by left-clicking in most cases. This state can be helpful for showing a user that the element they clicked on is interactive. When you use these states to style your links, there are specific orders you need to write your CSS in. So for example, you could do link visited, hover, then acted, or LVHA. You should now know how to give links in your page your own personal flair, while still providing the important information a user needs about the state of each
default
link.
state of link is actually link, nothing else. Which state applies while user click on the link? Clicked, active, visited, hover, click on the link, so active. What is order should your style to link? So the first will be linked, then visited, then hover, then active. This is the correct answer. No, this is the correct answer. If we activate wasted, hover, then active, then link, then wasted. Firstly, we just hovered because first I think this is the correct answer. Link in the default state, then it's active, then hover, and I think okay. Let's revisit the video 132.
Use these states to style your links. There are specific orders you need to write your CSS in. So for example, you could do link visited, hover, then acted, or LVHA.
LVHA.
You should now know how
LVHA. Oh, I was correct, but I got flabbergasted, which is not good. Okay, so we have completed our lectures. Let's review. Before you are quizzed on HTML knowledge you have gained so far, you need to review, open the page, boilerplate, audio, video elements and targets, attribute and more. Basic review. So for basics, this is the whole summary of what we have learned till now, and I'm just going to summarize it. Then let's end the video here, and after some hours we will restart the video. Okay, so here actually what happens is, review the concept below to prepare the upcoming quiz. HTML basics. Role of HTML. HTML represents the content and structure of a web page. HTML elements are the building blocks for an HTML document. They represent heading, paragraph, links, images and more. Most HTML elements consist of opening element tag and closing tags, element name, of course. So here is the basic syntax: element name, content goes here, element name closed. Void elements cannot have any content and only have a start tag. Examples img and meta are actually void elements. It's common to see some code bases that include a forward slash inside the void element. Both of these are acceptable. Okay, so we can use it without a closing tag, or we can use a closing tag. Both are acceptable. Attributes. An attribute is a value placed inside the opening tag of HTML elements. Attributes provide additional information about the element or specify how element should behave. Here is the basic syntax of the attribute. Element attribute, value element. So this is the attribute of this element, and this is the value of that attribute. A Boolean attribute is an attribute that can either be present or absent in a HTML tag. If present, the value is true, otherwise it is false. Example: Boolean attributes include disabled, read only, read only, required. Comments are used in programming to leave notes, of course. So this is how we comment out our HTML code, or add comment in our HTML code. Common elements. Heading HTML. There are 6 heading elements in HTML. The H1 to H6 elements are used to signify the importance of the content below. The lower the number, the higher the importance of the basically text inside the element. Paragraph element. This is used for paragraph on the web page. Image element. The image element is used to add images. Source, specify the location of the image. and use alt attribute. For example, this is basically to secure the image, so that if image does not load, then the link inside the alt will run, or maybe a text will appear. We can use anything. So SRC is like this, and we have an alt, a slice of lasagna on a plate. So body, H1, cat photo, paragraph, okay. About me, section element used to divide the content, okay. Anchor element. These elements are used to apply links to a web page. href attribute is used to specify the link should go and click on. Unordered list, we have ordered and unordered list, two types of list. The unordered list will give the listed items a dot represented by dots, and if you want numbered listed items, then we use ordered list. This is done. Then emphasis basically it basically converts the text in italic format. The strong element actually bolds the image, so the image under the strong tag is written in bold, will be written in bold in the paragraph. Figure and figure caption. Figure is the element group content like images and diagrams. Favicon element used to represent the caption that contain inside figure element. So figure element is actually used to if we want an image and we want the description of the image and we want something caption of that image, so we use figure element. So this will wrap everything inside a basically block. Main element. This main element is used to represent the main content of the web page. Footer element. This element is placed at the bottom of the HTML document, usually contains copyright information and other important page links. This is the footer. So footer basically is situated at the bottom of the HTML code. This basically normally contains the copyrights of that web page copyright information, contact information, and other information, so that you can get some data about what is on that page. So identifiers and grouping. IDs, unique elements, identifiers for HTML IDs, name1, HTML H1 ID, title, this. ID names cannot have spaces. ID names can contain multiple words and dashes. So ID names can be like this or this. It cannot have space between them. If you want to target HTML element and apply CSS, we can use an ID. You can also use a class. We can use a class and assign multiple elements this class to apply the CSS assigned to this class. Now we have special character and links. Special character and links, like if you want to use an HTML element inside our like paragraph, for example. So we have to use, like, if we want to use like less than, img, / greater than. So this is actually a tag inside HTML which is assigned as the closing tag for the image element. So if we don't want this tag to appear, or the browser show weird behavior, so we can use %lt for the less than symbol, and for the greater than symbol we can use this gt, %gt. So this will now refer, HTML now understands that we don't want a closing image tag here. We just want to write this information and show this information on the web page, and that is it. Link element. This element is used to link external sources like spreadsheets, styles, icons, and basic syntax of the CSS file. So we just have to link our CSS file, external CSS file. We can use this, and we can link this to the when our basically head ends, where our head ends, we can paste this link above that, and that's how we link our CSS file to our HTML file. So link, this is basically for a relation, and this is style sheet. What is the relation of this to our HTML? This is the style sheet for our HTML. So this will actually beautifies our HTML. So this is the location. This is actually the referential context, you can say. From this dot we can go to the current directory, and from there we can access this file if it's in the correct current directory. The attribute specifies the relationship between the linked resource and the HTML document. sref attribute is used to specify the location of the URL for external resources. Script element, this element is used to embed executable code. Okay, so if you want to add JavaScript in our file, we can use script. We can just write the JavaScript here itself, or we can just add a link here also, script link. We can use this also. So link relation is equal to I think this should be JavaScript, maybe script. This should be relation should be script here, and href should be the location of that file in reference context. Which while you can technically write all your JavaScript inside the script tags, it is considered a best practice to link the external JavaScript file instead, of course. So this is the actually this is we don't have to use link here. We can't use link. I lied. We will use script source is equal to the source of the JavaScript file, and that is it. We don't have to specify the relationship. We just have to link the HTML file with the JavaScript file through source attribute. The source attribute is used here specify the location of the external JavaScript file. Boilerplate and encoding. Okay, boilerplate and encoding. So HTML boilerplate, the boilerplate includes the basic structure of the HTML. So this is a boilerplate. If we write this, and we like in VS Code, I can show you how it works, how boilerplate works, but is it necessary? So basically in VS Code, if I have already written the boilerplate for the for the HTML. So when I just write this exclamation sign and press enter, the whole structure, this is the structure of the HTML file, will be already written here, automatically written there, so that it basically reduces the time to code. It's very convenient. Doc type is used to tell the browser which version of HTML you are using. HTML element, this represents the top level element or the root of the HTML document. To specify the language of the document, you should use the lang attribute. Head element, head section contains the important metadata which binds the scene information needed to browser or search engines. This is actually really important. This doc type, this is used to tell browser which version of HTML you are using. I already have clarified that many times. HTML element, this represents the top level element or the root of an HTML document. To specify the language of the document, you should use the lang attribute here also. The head element, the head section contains important metadata which is behind the scene information needed to a browser and the search engine. Meta elements, these elements represent the site's metadata. These elements have details about things like character encoding and how to preview more. A title element, this element is used to set text and browser to a window. UTF-8 character encoding, UTF-8 or UCS transformation format is a standardized character encoding widely used on web page. Characterized encoding method computers use the character data. The character set attribute is used inside the meta element to set the character encoding to UTF-8. Yeah. So basically we can use meta character set UTF-8. So this is basically basically specifies the transformation format. It stands for UCS transformation format. UTF. So UCS, what is UCS here? Okay. Let's search about this. Copy here. Let's paste it here. So it just stands for Unicode Character Encoding, UCE. Okay. Universal Multiple Occult Coded Character Set, UCS. Character set. Okay. So S stand for set, C stand for character, and U stand for Universal Multiple Occult. Oh, this is a really big name then. Okay. Where were we? The SEO and the social share. The SEO, search engine optimization, is a practice that optimizes the web page so that they become more visible and rank higher on the search engines. Meta description element. This is used to provide the short description for the web page and impacting SEO. Just like this. So meta, name, description, content, this will be shown on the web page. When the link pops up, the description will be shown that this link actually takes you to the page which delivers this kind of content or something like that. Open graph tags. The Open Graph protocol enables you to control how your website content appears across the various social media platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, and many more. By setting these Open Graph properties, you can entice user. What is entice? To persuade someone to do something, bring them something. That's really good. Entice someone to do something. Okay. So basically just to attract someone to do something. You can entice user to want to click and engage with your content. You can set these properties through collection of meta elements inside your HTML section. OG title property. This is used to set the link, set the title that displays for the social media posts. So basically OG title is here to, this property will be used to set the title which we want to display on us, which we want to display on our post, and the post will be of some specific social media. We want to post that post on some specific social media. So like this meta content, like free code camp. So if we want to post some content on free code camp, we can add property OG title here. Property OG type. Property. Okay, so this is the content of this title. Okay. As we can see, content and property can be interchanged. That doesn't matter. Image property. So meta content property OG image. Media element on and its optimization. Replaced elements. It's already one here. Should we leave it here? Maybe we should just leave here. I'm just going to end the stream. It's already 2 hours long and I don't want it to be longer than this. So I'm just going to end the stream right now. I'm going to start another stream really soon where